good group of people today. Some of you are prospective students, some of you are current students, but I think everybody here is interested in learning more about the process for earning credit for the experience that you have that you bring to school with you. So my name is Dalila Amirbasic. I am the coordinator for prior learning here at SOPA. And I am also the program director for humanities and social sciences. And I am also joined today by Sheila Gold, who is our executive director of recruitment and admissions. So we will be going through the process today. Sheila will also talk a little bit about the admission process for folks who are applying to SOPA. If you have any questions as we go through the slides, feel free to either unmute yourself or post a question in the chat, and then we'll get you the answers. And just wanted to give you a heads up, there will be a lot of information, so feel free to clarify, ask questions, and then always reach out afterwards if you have additional questions. All right, so about prior learning assessment. So this is a really unique opportunity here at SOPA because we're aware of the fact that most of our students that do come are coming with many years of previous work experience, as well as other experiences such as community service, military experiences. And so we have this opportunity to allow you to earn credit through an assessment process that allows you to demonstrate the experiences that you have and align them with courses that we currently offer. And in this way, you can earn exemptions from certain academic requirements or certain courses. So we'll talk more about that process. For undergraduate students, you're able to earn up to 24 credits through this process. This counts toward your 60 credit transfer maximum. So if you're transferring in 60 courses, you would not be eligible for additional credits through prior learning assessment. But for example, if you're transferring in 51 credits, you could earn 9 credits through prior learning assessment. And also, prior learning credit does not count towards a residency requirement, and it may also not be transferable to other divisions at Tulane. So if you're deciding to transfer to another school, for example, School of Science and Engineering, they will look at those credits and they may decide not to transfer them in. And then for graduate students, you can earn up to 6 credits through portfolio assessment. All right, so the different options for earning credit include credit by examination. So this is basically standardized testing. So we accept CLEP credits and DSSD credits, which both of these are standardized tests that typically focus on some of the introductory coursework, like Introduction to Accounting, or maybe Intro to World History. So these are tests that you would basically do like an ACT or an SAT test. You would go to a testing center, take the test. If you earn above a certain score, we would take those credits and transfer them in as credit by examination. Also, if you are fluent or fairly proficient in another language, you're able to earn credit for foreign language or language other than English. And so this is done through Tulane, so it's also a standardized test. There are a couple of steps that you would take. There's like a brief proficiency test and then a more in-depth one. And if you demonstrate knowledge of the language, at least at like a moderate level, you would earn credit for that foreign language as well. And then I think most of the time today we will spend talking about the portfolio development process. This is something that is fairly unique and that we offer here at SOPA. And a portfolio is basically a narrative that allows you to demonstrate that you have the knowledge that you would gain in a particular class, and that you've gained that knowledge by through your work experience or community experience. So the process for enrolling in this and portfolio development includes meeting with an advisor to identify courses in which you have previous experiences. It can be your academic advisor. You can also meet with me and discuss what might align with your experience. And then you would learn how to develop portfolios. For undergraduate students, this means that you would enroll in a course that teaches you how to do this. It's PAPL 1000. And for graduate students, it means that you would take a self-guided course that again teaches you the process of developing a portfolio. The next step is writing the narrative and gathering supplementary documentation. Narratives are typically 20 to 30 pages. The supplementary documentation includes a range of materials such as certifications, samples of your work, letters from previous supervisors or coworkers, and it really can be quite a range that just supports your narrative, that shows how you've developed these skills and these experiences. And then the final step is you submit your portfolio for assessment. This typically goes to a faculty member here at SOPA who will review your portfolio and determine whether the knowledge and the experience demonstrated in the portfolio is equivalent to what you would do if you had taken that class. So as mentioned, undergraduate students are required to enroll in the portfolio development course first, PAPL 1000. The course is offered online. It is offered every semester. It's 3 credits and it counts towards your general elective. There are 2 prerequisites for the class, English 1010, because in a portfolio you will be writing a lot. So we do require that English writing class, and also a 2.0 GPA. Once you enroll in this class, the tuition that you pay for the course covers 3 portfolio assessments. So if you're paying tuition for the 3 credits, you could potentially earn 12 credits for the cost of 1 class. And then for graduate students, you would do a self-guided portfolio development course on campus. And then once you complete that course, you would develop your portfolio and kind of go through the same process. Graduate students pay for each portfolio assessment. So the cost is typically, so right now it's $1,158, which is the equivalent of one credit, 1 graduate level credit. And then again, you are able to earn 6 credits maximum through portfolio assessment. So what does this look like? It's a process. There's a lot of writing, but how does it actually align with the course that you're seeking credit for? Excuse me. So each portfolio is developed in alignment with a course that we offer. You may have, 20 years of experience as a paralegal. In order to gain credit for those experiences, you would have to directly align pieces of that experience with course objectives in a particular class in the General Legal Studies program. The courses that are eligible for portfolio assessment are those in our applied programs. So typically not the courses in humanities and social sciences. But if there is a humanities and social sciences class that you feel like you do have experience in, we can discuss it. But generally, those are much harder to earn or to have experiences in, because they're very specific to a particular topic, and they're not applied. Courses also exclude internships, labs, any experiential type courses. And as mentioned, they're usually written narratives, and they align with the course objectives for a particular class. So your narrative has to demonstrate a mastery of each learning objective. So this means that, if a class has 5 learning outcomes, your portfolio will be structured around those outcomes, and you have to have experiences that you can write about in each one of those 5. So you have an example on the next slide. Here we go. All right. So this is a class that a lot of people who have experience in an office environment are generally able to do well in the portfolio process and earn credit through portfolio. So it's a class in our IT program. It's called Internet Collaboration. And these are the course learning outcomes for that class. So it has 6 outcomes, including define elements of the internet, explain the best use cases for internet collaboration, share documents and files with other internet users. And so when creating a portfolio for this class, for example, you would be writing about your experiences in each one of these areas. So for example, share documents and files with other internet users. So you would write a narrative here that explains how you've done this at work, for what purpose. Maybe you have developed a training for other people to share documents and files as well. In that case, you could attach an example of that training. Or perhaps you've completed a training on utilizing the cloud for collaboration. Again, that could be submitted as a supplementary document. But for each one of these, you would be describing your experiences. And so in the end, you would end up with a document that shows that you've done each one of these things. You have the knowledge to do each one of these things, which you would have gained if you took the class. You would also gain the equivalent knowledge in the course. But because you already have the experience and you've demonstrated that you have it through your narrative, you wouldn't have to take the class. You would instead earn 3 credits through examination. But as mentioned, you have to address each one. So if you don't have any narrative examples for defining elements of the internet, then even if you address through 2 through 6, but 1 is not addressed, you would not earn credit. And then once your portfolio is completed, so for example, for this IT class, it would go to a faculty member in the IT department who generally either teaches this class or has a deep knowledge of the content area. They would assess the portfolio using a standardized rubric. So this means that everybody's portfolios are assessed in the same way. And they're evaluated based on content and style. So there is a portion of the assessment that focuses on style and grammar, but the more significant portion of the scoring comes through the assessment of the content. So you receive, you do not receive a letter grade. You receive, it's not a pass either. I think it's CRE possibly, or CR, which is what is assigned for credit by examination. Sure. All right, so feel free to post any other questions that you might have. Like I said, this is a lot. It's quite a process. So let me know what questions you have, and then I'll hand it over to Sheila to talk about the application process for the prospective students.
Thanks, Dalila. So once again, let me welcome everybody to our webinar. We're thrilled that you're here. So a little bit of just quick information for those of you who are prospective students. Our application process is pretty straightforward and streamlined. However, we always know that there's questions that come up, so please feel free to reach out to us and ask questions. Some of the things that you need to know is that our application lives on our website. It's at sopa.tulane.edu. If you go there, there's a big button at the top that says apply. Just click it, and you either pick the undergraduate or graduate application and follow the prompts from there. We do have an application fee. It's $40 for undergraduates and $50 for graduates. However, as a thank you for attending this webinar, we waive that fee. If you have already applied and paid the application fee, please email me after this and I can refund that for you. That would be my pleasure. Another thing that you're going to need is a copy of a government ID. So for most people, that's taking your phone and taking a picture of your driver's license and just uploading that. We will need transcripts from any school where you received college credit. We will accept those by US mail or electronically. We prefer electronics. They don't get lost and they get to us a little faster. And then for those of you who are applying to graduate programs, most likely you will need to submit a written statement and your resume. So that's just sort of the basics of our application. Next slide, please. So some deadlines that are important to know. We have 3 starts a year: fall, spring, and summer. We are currently enrolling for our fall term. That deadline is August 1. So you have plenty of time to apply for the fall. We encourage everybody to get their application in early just because the deadline is August 1. You don't have to wait till then. We are on a rolling admissions basis. For those of you who want to start in the spring, January 1 is the deadline. And then for those of you who are real planners and considering next summer, May 1 is the deadline. We do offer early registration scholarships. So if you apply, are admitted and register by the early registration dates. For fall, that would be June 1, spring, December 1, and summer, April 25th. You will receive for your first semester a tuition discount. So for undergraduates, that's $200 off your tuition the first semester, and for graduate students, that's $500. So it's easy to get. Everybody should go ahead and take advantage of that. Just go ahead, apply early, get admitted, and register by those dates, and we can give you a little bit of financial support for your first semester. So my contact information is on the screen, as is Dalila's. If you have any questions, please email me at sgold@tulane.edu. Or I see that there's some questions in the chat, although I think Anne has been answering those. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
And I've been thanks so much, Sheila. I've been going through some of the questions. I think one we missed is, are we anticipating any PhD programs? As far as I know.
That I know of.
We're not, yeah. Let's see, humanities and social sciences. Those are just really tricky because, for example, if we have a course in Shakespeare and a very specific aspect, gender and sexuality in Shakespeare, right? It is really hard to have that specific experience. But it is you could have been the director of the Shakespeare theater program for 7 years or something, and then we can talk about it and see if the objectives for that class do align with your previous experiences. But generally, they're really difficult to align with experience. But again, we're open to discussing it. We're not, because people might have that experience. For military service, we accept the joint services transcript. So we usually assign 12 credits based on that transcript. Other options with military service include ACE credit. So if your transcript has been evaluated by ACE, so you will see you will have an ACE transcript that says this class is eligible for credit in management or something. That would be evaluated by the program director in that area. So for example, it would go to the business studies program director to determine whether that is whether they would accept those credits. The certain page length, there is no, for portfolios, there is no required minimum. They just tend to be about 20 to 30 pages. And some, like you noted, some of our courses have 15 learning outcomes, and those are going to be really long because you have to address each one. Others have 4. So there is going to be a range, and the requirement is for you to address the learning outcomes. It's not to have a certain amount of words or pages. And there's some admissions questions that I think Anne maybe addressed these. There's a question, what if you have already been accepted to SOPA?
I don't see it on my feed. Can you show me where it is or read it, Dalila? I'm so sorry.
It just says, what if you already have been accepted into SOPA?
I'm not sure what that means.
Sure, if it's regarding the discounts or
if you've already been admitted to SOPA, well, first thing we can do is we can refund your application fee for attending this webinar. But in terms of if the question is, can you still go through the credit for prior learning process? I'm assuming so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. So if you're a current student, you can definitely take part in the prior learning process. There is no sort of requirement other than having that, for undergraduate, having that English 1010 and the 2.0. And then for TFL certificate or TKT certification, so again, if there is a course in the program that aligns with your experience, so I think it would require more than just having a certificate. I think it would probably require teaching. But that I'm just guessing that it would require some kind of experience as well. But if you do have that experience, then we can consult with the program director for education and see what the options are there. Question about prior military or public safety training credit. The only way this would apply to graduate degrees is if you have that ACE credit evaluation that shows that this training is a graduate level equivalent. You get credit for the service learning requirement. No, so any sort of experiential requirements you cannot get credit for. Those are still required to participate So many questions. This is great. And then I have a question about who do we contact? So if you have questions about which courses might be appropriate, you can reach out to your advisor. You can reach out to your program director, and then you can also reach out to me, and we can figure out which courses to look at. And then once you've identified potential courses, we would send you the syllabus for that class, and then you would look at those course learning outcomes to see, is this something that completely aligns with what I've done before? If going into nonprofit management, is there an opportunity for credit for working in a nonprofit organization? Absolutely. So if if there is a class in nonprofit management, and that aligns with your experiences in a nonprofit organization, that's definitely an option possible option to write a portfolio. And then about English 1010, you could take it as a core requisite. So as long as you're taking that class, you could do both. And then yes, everybody has to do the portfolio course. The undergraduate students have to do the 3 credit class, and the graduate students have to go through the Canvas training. And the reason for this is because there are very specific requirements for formatting and how to actually structure your portfolio. So the class prepares you to be able to do that and craft your narrative in that way. And it really supports your ability to succeed, because your portfolio will be evaluated in a very specific way with very specific expectations. And then it also, I think one of the most rewarding experiences for folks who have taken the class is actually having the time to reflect on all of the wonderful things you've done. Most of the time we just go through work, and we don't really sit down and think about all of the accomplishments that we've made through our experience. So it is actually a rewarding process, apart from learning how to develop a portfolio. People generally have a good experience in this reflection process as well. I think that was all the questions. If I've missed anything, feel free to. Okay. So is there a humanities course that will qualify for helping homelessness, heading housing projects as a volunteer through communication, influencing local government? This would be at the undergraduate level, I'm assuming, or graduate? Okay. I was going to say there might be something in the MPA program that might align with this, but I don't know of any undergraduate courses that are closely aligned. One thing we do have that might possibly work is our speech communication class. So that might be an option in terms of like the communication and influencing, but that one requires you to submit examples of speeches. So it's a possibility, but it's also tricky, because you would have to have speech examples. Any other questions?
Dalila, can I just jump in and once again remind everybody that our contact information is on the screen. So if there's questions after this, or if you have follow-up questions, you can reach me at sgold@tulane.edu or dalila@tulane.edu.
Thanks, Sheila. So let's see. I'm trying to see. So we do. Oh, okay. So for the graduate emergency management and homeland security programs, I think the majority of those courses are eligible. So one thing I would suggest is do a Google search for Tulane catalog. And once you're there, click on courses and then find emergency management and homeland security and look through some of the course descriptions and then send me an email about the courses you're interested in, and then I can send you the syllabi for those so you can look at those learning outcomes. All right, well, thank you everybody for taking time to join us today. I would be happy to talk more. I know it's tricky to sort of cover everybody's experiences and expertise in a webinar, so I'm happy to meet individually with anybody who has more questions. Again, best way to reach me is email, just my first name, Dalila@tulane.edu. Thanks so much.